Hey, thanks for joining us for another stream. Sorry it's been so long, and welcome back. I've just got an Xbox Series X here that's coming for no power from a customer, so we're going to get straight into it. It's been opened, so I've took the case off it just to save a bit of time here. So main screws have been taken out of there. We've just got to get the PSU off there, get all these cables unplugged, get the shields off, and we'll find out what's going on. So it's coming to us, no power whatsoever, basically bricked. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some diagnostics first, just to see what's going on. So what we'll do, we'll just get these shields off the side here. So hope you like the new setup. I've got the new camera up at the top, and new little position, got my new scope over here. So we're all ready. Don't think I'll be needing the scope today, but we'll see what we do need for this repair. So that's straight off there. I'll get all of these screws out. Don't forget, most important when you're doing repairs like this, remember where all your screws have come from. Notice all of these are different lengths, so we'll place these out in a little pattern here so we know exactly where they've come from. Got myself a nice new electric screwdriver as well for this one. Makes it a bit easier for these consoles because for some reason they've decided to use hundreds of screws. It's not so bad on this one, you've got more on the PlayStations. So just on a PlayStation the other day, and my God, the amount of screws on the PS5 now. Maybe I should have took these screws out before we started. So you'll notice here, we're just putting them all out in a nice little pattern. So nearly there. What we have to do now, we need to try and figure out on this repair, we need to try and work out first of all whether the problem exists on the top or the bottom board. So these two boards are sandwiched together, and when you see inside it, then for all of those that are kind of doing HDMI repairs on these devices but aren't delving into the no power diagnostics repairs, you'll know that it splits into two. There's a little joining cable down the middle. So we're nearly there, there's not too many screws to take out now. So hopefully the battery holds out on this thing. It's been getting a bit hammered recently. So we're over in Colwyn Bay, phone repair shop, and we do consoles, we do phones. Yeah, pretty much all sorts really. If you've got a problem with a device, iPhone, Samsung, Huawei, anything like that, you can just nip it down, we can have a look at it. We're not the type of shop that sends it all out to other people, that's the most important thing really. Well, a lot of places will take these jobs in, but actually haven't got a clue how to fix it themselves. So, take that little shield off there, you'll have just noticed. Underneath there, there's a little screw, so remember that has to go back in before you put that shield back on again. So there we go, that's all off there. We'll pull that back. We've got one more little screw in the middle here. That's all okay. So that's off. That should come loose off there now. That can just go in the box there. Then we've got this power supply. That's just clipped down there. I'll just clip this off at the side here. So power supply, first of all, we need to know whether this is faulty or not, because if this is faulty, then we're going to have an issue trying to work out what's going on here. So you either have a sacrificial one, where you can kind of have one that's like a known good one. Personally, I prefer to do it another way. So what I'm going to do now, I'll get my power cable. Where is it? Around here somewhere. There it is. So what we'll do now is we'll plug into this connector here. So watch out now, that's live 240 volts. So be careful here now. Out to this connector now, you want to get your multimeter. and we're going to stick it into voltage DC. So out of here you should see some voltage out of this little connector now. So I'm going to just plug that into there, plug that one into there, and we're getting 11.9 volts, absolutely fine. It will be just shy of 12, so don't worry about that. And we'll connect it into the big connector, and we'll check there. And we're getting the same out of there, so we're getting 11.9. So to us, the actual power supply brick looks absolutely fine. That's not our issue. So power's getting from the mains, coming through here, through these two connectors, and going into the board. Now what we need to do, this one when it was powering on, the problem was you weren't getting anything. You'd hit the power button, not a single thing coming on, so no sign of life at all. So absolutely nothing. What we need to do now is we need to try and figure out if it's the top or the bottom board. Now, what you'll do here is have a little look in here, and you've got, this is all the bits that have come out of this so far. So what you've got in here, see this little flex going into there? Goes to this board where your power button is on the front. So that there is called the Nexus board. Not named by me, named by Microsoft. So we're going to take that out of here now. So sometimes it's a bit easier if you've got one of these boards. I'm just showing you now as an example so that you can use the one. You don't need additional consoles. You can just use the same one to diagnose. This is also a great time to see if it's something as simple as a faulty power button. So you can see if there's any issues with the power button, if it's been mashed up or anything like that. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to pull out this Nexus board. So that's the little Nexus board that you see in there. So what that's got on there, if I put that to one side, that's got your power button on there. See that button there? Looks absolutely fine to me. So we can have a little look under the microscope just to check it. I'll switch you over to microscope view. Be able to have a little peek there. We'll zoom out. So let's have a little peek. Let's have a look there. You can see there, let me just zoom it out a bit, get some focus. So you can see there that power button looks absolutely beautiful. No issues there. It's clicking nice, so I don't think we've got a problem with the power button. The flex is in nicely. I'll just switch back over to standard camera. There we go. So that flex looks okay. So we've got two parts okay now. We've got the power supply, isn't an issue. We've got this connector here, isn't an issue. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to plug this in now into here, which is the little Nexus connector port. So there, I can now switch this console on with the power button without it being in the housing. What we're going to do now is we're going to get the actual power brick. We're just going to plug that in, and I'll show you that we don't get anything at all on this, that we're not getting any power whatsoever. So let's just plug that in there. Now these things don't like a surge, so make sure you plug these in first and then plug the main power in. So if we connect that over to there, just need to move that over slightly. There we are. So we've got a little bit of a click there, spark. Press the power button and we're getting nothing at all here. Absolutely nothing at all coming out of there. So yeah, in essence, this whole thing's still dead. So nothing I've done so far has revived it. It's still not working. So let's unplug the power. Let's get it power safe. Don't take these things apart. They hold a hell of a current. So even after you've unplugged them, there's a huge big cap in there, and that'll ruin your day, that will. So let's just put that off to one side. Now what we're going to do is, if I just disconnect that again, put some pressure on there. Now we're going to diagnose if it's the top or the bottom board. So on this, we've got this little connector here which connects the top and the bottom board together. So I'm just going to push the sides in there, disconnect that, and then we're going to try and separate this now. So there is a bit of glue on, so you have to just prise them apart slightly. There we are. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this one to one side, that one there. So let's just move that off to one side. We're not interested in that bottom board yet. So this top board is the CPU layer. The bottom board is the GPU layer. So we're looking at the top board first. We're going to see if the CPU's fried or see if there's a problem on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this Nexus connector back in again. And we're going to see, because if there was a board short on the bottom board, that would affect it. That would stop the whole unit from powering on. So if I've just disconnected that bottom board, connect the power. Now you'll notice here we can only connect the small power now, because the big connector is designed to be connected to the bottom board. So we'll plug that back into there again. Just make sure that's safe down there. So we'll put some power in. We've got a little click again there. Push the power button. What are we getting? Nothing again. So we know now that we've potentially got a problem with this top board. So it's not powering on with the bottom board not connected. If we had a problem with the bottom board, this one over here, if we had a problem with that one, then this console now would be powering on, and it's not powering on at the moment. So let's just disconnect all of this. It's a little bit trial and error-y this, because you've got to try and get to the bottom of exactly what it is. So now what we're going to do is we'll have a little bit of a visual check on this. So kind of just flipping it over there. I can't see anything visually kind of damaged, broken. I'm just having a little peek. So problem is we've got all of these shields on here now. So we're going to have to do a little bit more screw removal. We'll take all of these screws out. We now know that there is a problem with this board. First thing I'm going to do is that power connector where we were just connecting to a minute ago. That there, I'm going to test if there's a short on it. So if you've got yourself a multimeter, the one I use is a Rigol bench multimeter, so because I really can't be doing with the little handheld portable ones. I don't really need the accuracy of one of these multimeters, but it's just easier to have a bench multimeter when you're working permanently and you're going to be doing these things constantly. So again, you'll notice the way I'm laying these screws out, getting them all perfectly positioned. They're all going into a nice pattern, exactly where I've taken them out. There we go. So got one more screw down here. So that's going to come off there. That plate should just come off. And now this board, it is stuck down a little bit, so you have to just release the glue at the bottom of it. There we go. So get rid of that aluminium block at the side. That's your heat sink. So now what we've got here, so let's just remove that bit of plastic. So now we've got our board here now. So communications board. We've got our drive reader here. So this is our Wi-Fi antenna at the side. So we're completely bare now on here. Let's just measure this little port at the side here now. So this here, what we're going to do, we're going to put our multimeter into continuity mode. So on there, we're going to read these two pins down here, and we're going to see, I'll put that onto there, and then, so one of them we've got a dead short, which is fine, that's the ground. The other one, we've got a reading on there, 1.5, 1,600, 700, it's rising. That looks fine, that does, so I don't know why that might be an issue. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at this board, because most frequently, if I zoom up on that there, will that focus? Not going to focus, is it? I think I've fixed the focus for the bench. So that there, plug that off at the side. Remember to plug that back in at the end because I don't need that at the moment. That there is looking fine. Can't see any faults there. Can't see anything. Problem is you've got now, this is reading fine. It's going to be a component on here that's failed. If it's this chip here, sorry, I made a mistake before. That layer down there that I've took off, that's your CPU layer. This is your GPU layer here. So on there, let's have a little look and let's try and find any faulty components first. So this is our first stage of diagnostics. So we're going to go back over to microscope view and we'll have a little look now. So I'll do picture in picture so you can see a little bit what's going on in the corner. There you go. So now we're going to have a little look on this camera. So we're looking at the connector first. That connector looks absolutely beautiful. No issues there. No issues there. That's looking all fine. Couple of little bits of dust in there. That shouldn't really be affecting anything though. That's all okay. Gonna go next, we're gonna look at some of these caps. So these little caps here, little brown capacitors that you're gonna see all over this board. All of these are MLCC capacitors, multi-layer ceramic capacitors. So they are basically little power reserves for the board. Now, these are critical. What happens when these fail? They always fail short. They will never fail open circuit. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen one fail open circuit. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our multimeter. You can hear that beep in the background. And we're just going to start testing just to see if there's any capacitors that are completely short. So we're okay there. Got a nice reading on that one. They're all okay. So you're kind of doing a visual inspection as well while you're looking around this board. Now there's hundreds of these things, so you're going to have to be careful and look across them all to see if there's anything that might be wrong. So a little bit of dust there, fluff. You're trying to make sure there's nothing in between these. That one looks fine. That looks okay there. So we're kind of working our way around methodically to see if we can find any burnt out components, anything with cracks in. So there's no cracks on any of these. There's nothing burnt out yet around here. So these are just empty spaces, either for future expansion or for other things. So they're fine. Just measure a few more of these. What we're trying to find is to see if there are any shorts. So we've not found any yet, or any obvious signs of damage. Now if we start getting a short reading at some point, then that's the point where we're going to know, is it in this area? Are we getting close? So there's our power connector there. You probably can't see that. There you go, that was our power connector. We've already tested that, that was fine. Let's come over here. This is all of our network area. So let's test a couple of these. No short there. Carry on around here. So we're looking for obvious signs of what might be. So let's just test a couple of these big ones. No short there. Test a couple of these. So don't know whether you can see that on camera there. So I'm testing that capacitor there, and that's got a short. So that cap is dead short to ground. Now, you should never on these boards, when you're getting close to CPUs, you're going to see shorts. You're going to see what looks like a dead short, and you're going to think that's the problem. But here, this should not be shorted. It's a 0.2 ohm short to ground. So let's try and have a little look and visually inspect this area now. So this shouldn't be happening in this area. So don't know whether you can see here. There's a little bit of discoloration on those two. I can see it slightly better under the microscope, but you can see here you've got two caps there, one there and one there. Now what you can also see if I zoom in, I've just spotted that when I was looking, is if I zoom right into that cap down there, can you see that on the camera? Hold on. Yep, you can see that now, quite clear as day that is. So what you're going to see is right in that corner there, on the top right hand side, see that discoloration on the capacitor? That is a cracked capacitor, that is. So there's actually a crack in the corner of the capacitor. So if we read that, that's short. Now all of these other ones are also going to be short. This one here is going to be discoloured because it was next to this when it went nuclear. So that one's going to be discoloured as well. So it should be okay. But the reason all of these are short and not just one of them is because they are all on the same rail. So they're all doing the same function. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to get this board warmed up, and I'm going to remove that capacitor now and see what happens. So let's get that angled right. Let's get zoomed right out of this. Okay. And now we're going to get some hot air onto it. So we're going to have to go pretty hot on this. So the reason we're going to have to go pretty hot is because these boards have got an absolutely amazing ability to soak up heat. So I'm going to go here, going to go in around about, I think I've got my heat there set to about 420. So absolutely massive on this, but you can see here, let me just do this. I want to try and make it so you can see all of this, what I'm doing. There we are. Straight onto there. So, what we're going to do now is we're just going to heat this bit up here. And eventually we'll reach temperature where it will actually reflow. And I can pull this off, grab a donor board and stick another one on. But really, for the intents of this stream, once I've sorted this short out and got it to power on, that's pretty much my job done. I'm sure you don't really need to see me reassembling a console. If you're doing this level of repair, then the reality is you don't need to really see how I've disassembled and reassembled a console. There we go. So I've taken that off now. That capacitor is now off the board. I'm going to put it to one side because I want to measure that now. So let's get my heat gun on. Let's get my multimeter. And we're just going to test this now just to see. First of all, we want to see if that capacitor is actually shorted to ground. So if I test the capacitor, where is it? Can you see that in the middle of the view there now? There it is. There's that capacitor that I've just removed. Hopefully I'm not going to ping it across the room when I do this. So that capacitor is dead short. Now if I measure that now, where it used to be, and we're getting 1200, 1300, we're getting a good reading on that now. So we've no longer got a board short. So that there, let's just stick that capacitor in the bin and we'll salvage another one. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to switch you back over to normal view. And from here, we're just going to get this board. So let's get our Nexus connector on here. So I'm quite confident now on this. There we are. So, right. I'm going to plug this power back in again down here. Plug that in. Don't want that to short out against anything, so we're going to have to be very careful with this now. So that's off to one side. Let's get our power connector on this. There we are. Right, so we've got that power connector into there. We're powered up on the board. Let's see now, fingers crossed. So we got a light. Do you notice before we weren't getting a light? We weren't even getting a ba-da-ding. We were getting nothing. Now, this thing's just going to instantly power off again now, because at this point, we fixed the short. However, the entire thing is fully disassembled, so it's trying to sense the other board. It's not detecting it, and as such, it's powering itself back down again. But basically, that is another successful repair there. So all I've got to do now, I won't bore you with the details on stream. We'll call it a day at that. It's getting close. It's nearly 5 o'clock. I need to go home. So that's it pretty much. Let's unplug that Nexus connector. That's going to go back into the case. We'll get the whole thing reassembled. I'll get a cap put onto the board back again there, just so that that's a finished repair. Ideally, we do need all of those caps. They're there for a good reason. Some of the amateurs out there are going to put the going to take the cap off and they're not going to put it back on again. That's not what we do. I like to do it the proper way. If I'm coming back to these later down the line, I want a good repair. So yeah, there we go. I'm going to put all these screws back in again, get it back together, and there we go. So I'm going to make a lot more of these streams now. I'm going to try and go short, less than half an hour on every stream really. If it does go over, it's not my fault, it's purely because the repairs took longer than it should. But yeah, pretty much that was just a shorted board. You had a little cap on there that's just shorted out, and we just had to pop it off the board. If you haven't got one of these, you're not doing it professionally, you're doing it for yourself, then it's up to you. You don't have to put that cap back on again. The whole thing will function without it, so it's up to you. But if you're doing it for a full-time repair job, you really should be doing things right. You should be doing it the right way. This is just one example. I'm not by any means going to say this is how you fix it every time. I've kind of just struck it lucky there. I'm pretty happy with this one. So yeah, I'm not going to get it this lucky every time. And yeah, I'm happy that I've found something like this on my first repair. So next one I've got to do after this, I'm going to do another stream later. Or tomorrow. It's PS5 HDMI repair. Again, pretty basic those now. We do hundreds of them. So thanks very much for joining us anyway. Have a good evening and take it easy. See you later.